Asus has been facing a lot of criticism from popular tech tubers and media outlets for its handling of the AM5 BIOS updates for Ryzen 7000 series processors. These updates were supposed to fix the voltage issues that caused some CPUs and motherboards to fail or overheat, but instead, they introduced more problems and controversies. One of the main criticisms was that Asus was publishing private AGESA code revisions in its BIOS updates that were never meant for public use. These code revisions were not validated by AMD and could cause instability or damage to the hardware. Gamers Nexus reported that Asus was using a private AGESA 1.3.0.2 revision for its Crosshair X670 Extreme motherboard, which had a bug that prevented the CPU from entering sleep mode. Asus later removed this BIOS update from its website without any explanation. Another criticism was that Asus was deleting older BIOS updates on its motherboard support pages as it published new updates at the same time, without informing users of the changes. This made it difficult for users to revert to a previous BIOS version if they encountered any issues with the new one. Gamers Nexus also claimed that Asus was deleting negative comments and feedback from its forums and social media platforms. The most serious criticism was that Asus was uploading a BIOS update for the Crosshair X670 Extreme that voids the warranty of the motherboard. This BIOS update had a disclaimer that stated that Asus does not give any warranties or take any responsibility for using this beta BIOS. This was seen as a way for Asus to avoid liability for any potential damage caused by its faulty BIOS updates. Furthermore, this BIOS update did not fix the voltage issues that plagued the Ryzen 7000 series processors, as Gamers Nexus showed that the SoC voltage still exceeded the safe limit of 1.3 V recommended by AMD. Asus responded to these criticisms by releasing a statement that affirmed that its AM5 motherboard warranty covers both beta and fully validated BIOS updates, as well as all AMD EXPO, Intel XMP, and DLCP memory configurations. Asus also said that all recent BIOS updates follow the latest AMD voltage guidelines for Ryzen 7000 series processors. However, this statement did not address the specific allegations made by Gamers Nexus and other sources, nor did it explain why Asus was using private AGESA code revisions or deleting older BIOS updates. Asus has been losing trust and reputation among its customers and fans due to these controversies. Many users have expressed their disappointment and frustration with Asus on various platforms. Some have even decided to switch to other motherboard brands or avoid buying Ryzen 7000 series processors altogether. Asus needs to do more than just issuing a generic statement to regain its credibility and loyalty in the AM5 market. In this section, we will analyze the statement that Asus released to address the concerns raised by some users and tech tubers about its AM5 BIOS updates and memory presets. The statement, which was sent via email and press release, affirms that its warranty covers beta BIOS updates and memory presets, and that it follows the latest AMD voltage guidelines for Ryzen 7000 CPUs. The statement comes after Asus faced criticism for allegedly publishing private AGESA code revisions, uploading buggy untested BIOS updates that resulted in unsafe SoC voltages, deleting older BIOS updates without informing users, and voiding the warranty of some motherboards. These issues were reported by Gamers Nexus and other content creators who tested Asus ROG motherboards with Ryzen 7000 X3D CPUs and found that they exceeded the safe voltage limit of 1.3 V set by AMD. Asus claims that both beta and fully validated BIOS updates for its AM5 motherboards are covered by the original manufacturer's warranty, and that it is not responsible for direct, special, incidental, or consequential damages resulting from using the beta BIOS. This seems to contradict the disclaimer that Asus posted on its website when it released the beta BIOS updates, which stated that Asus does not give any warranties and is not responsible for any damages caused by the beta BIOS. It is unclear why Asus changed its stance on this matter, or whether it will honor its warranty for users who have already experienced damage to their CPUs or motherboards. Asus also says that its AM5 motherboard warranty covers all AMD EXPO, Intel XMP, and DOCP memory configurations. This is a positive point for users who want to use these memory presets to optimize their performance and compatibility. However, some users have reported that enabling these presets caused their SoC voltages to spike above the safe limit. Asus has not explained how it will prevent this from happening in future BIOS updates, or whether it will provide any compensation for users who have damaged their components by using these presets. Finally, Asus states that all recent BIOS updates follow the latest AMD voltage guidelines for AMD Ryzen 7000 series processors. This implies that Asus has fixed the voltage issues that were causing some CPUs to burn out or fail. However, Gamers Nexus has shown that even after updating to the latest beta BIOS, some Asus ROG motherboards still displayed SoC voltages above 1.4 V, which is well above the recommended limit of 1.3 V. Asus has not addressed this discrepancy or provided any evidence to support its claim that it follows AMD's voltage guidelines. In conclusion, the statement that Asus released to address the concerns about its AM5 BIOS updates and memory presets is not very convincing or reassuring. It seems to contradict some of its previous statements and disclaimers, and it does not address some of the key issues that users and tech-tubers have raised. It also does not offer any apology or compensation for the users who have suffered damage or inconvenience due to Asus' faulty BIOS updates. Asus needs to do more than just issue a statement if it wants to restore its reputation and trust among its customers.